everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review, and today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to take a look at some of Hasbro's new 3¼ inch Avengers Age of Ultron figures. Now we're going to look at two sets that are Toys R Us exclusives. It's two sets of 2 figures each, and actually each set contains one figure from Avengers Age of Ultron, and then the other figure is actually more based on the characters from Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now these figures have more probably not quite as much of articulation as the older Marvel Universe figures, but definitely more than those single-carded Avengers Age of Ultron figures with only the 5 points of articulation. Now we are actually in this review going to take a look at one of those 5 points of articulated figures with the Scarlet Witch figure, just because I thought, you know, it was kind of a cool figure and I wanted to see how well it fit in with the others, at least like scale and everything. So the single carded figure is a 5 points of articulated figure, whereas the others are a little bit more articulated. So as I mentioned, we get with these 2 packs, we get one figure from basically Captain America the Winter Soldier. So this Captain America, even though on the packaging we see Captain America in his outfit from the Age of Ultron and everything, we actually get the stealth suit Cap from the Winter Soldier movie. So these 2 packs, you know, basically similar kind of Avengers Age of Ultron packaging that we've seen with all of Hasbro's stuff. You've got the Avengers Age of Ultron logo off in the corner, and the figures are displayed in the window box packaging. And then, as I mentioned, up in the corner you have some artwork of Captain America and Black Widow, though the Captain America is actually wearing the suit from Age of Ultron. On the back of the packaging you have a look at the actual figures along with like the accessories that it comes with, which are, you know, obviously geared more towards kids. The big suction cup that Captain America has, and then the weird scissor gun thing that Black Widow comes with. And there's a little brief bio up in multiple languages up in the top right corner. Then the second 2-pack is going to contain Iron Man in his Mark 43 armor, which again is from the Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Nick Fury. So, and again, same packaging as the other 2-pack, just you've got up in the corner, you've got images of Iron Man and Fury, but otherwise it's basically the same packaging. And then on the back, again, we have a look at the actual figures, little brief bio up in the top right corner in multiple languages. You have the look, you know, shows you how the big giant bazooka gun that Nick Fury comes with works. And then finally, for the single-carded figure, as I mentioned, this is one of the 5 points of articulated figures that Hasbro's been doing. This is part of the second wave of those figures. And you've got the Avengers Age of Ultron logo up at the top, and then you have a look at the main Avengers: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Hulk off in the corner. The figure's clearly displayed on the card back, and you've got the name below that. Then on the back, you have a look at the figure with a little, again, brief bio in multiple languages. Okay, so let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the 5 figures outside of the packaging. Now, for the most part, I'm going to primarily focus on the Avengers Age of Ultron figures shown here. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the Nick Fury and the Captain America figures. Those figures are reissues, so you know, we've seen those figures before. The Nick Fury figure was released in Hasbro's first Avengers movie line, first 4-inch Avengers movie line, and then this Captain America figure was released in Hasbro's Captain America the Winter Soldier line. So again, those basically are reissued figures. So we'll look at them a little bit, but for the most part we're going to focus on the new Iron Man, the Scarlet Witch, and the Black Widow figures. Okay, so real quick we'll look at the Nick Fury figure. As I said, this is a re-release from the Avengers line, Fury. So same figure, even the same dumb bazooka, though we've got a red missile now. You push on it and you can kind of push it out. It's, you know, really kind of a waste. It's supposed to be, I guess, the bazooka that he used in the Avengers movie. But definitely could have done without that. Now, main thing I want to notate is This figure came, the original figure had a working gun holster, and I believe he had a gun, but they chose not to give him a gun on this version in the Toys R Us 2-pack. So I did dig up a gun and gave it to him, but he does not actually come with a pistol for that holster. So I would have rather gotten a pistol for the holster than the stupid bazooka, but there you go. The holster on his chest, that gun is not removable. He's got the coat that's made with that leather material, so you can take that off. And even though technically like the sleeves are sculpted on the arms, it still looks pretty good even when you pull the coat off. So that's cool that you can remove the coat. Face sculpt's okay. I mean, for this scale figure, it's okay. Articulation on the figure is okay. Head's on a ball joint, so he can look left and right. Not a whole lot of up and down movement. Arms are on ball hinge joints. He's got good rotation at the arm. He's got swivel at the elbow. Single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much. Wrists are no articulation at the wrist, no swivel or anything. He does have a midsection joint where you can swivel right under the gun belt. Not really any kind of crunch movement there, but he does have the swivel. No waist swivel. And then the legs are on ball hinge joints, but I don't know if it's my joints are just tight, but I can't really get the legs forward very well on this figure. So not a lot of movement forward or back on the legs. He does have a thigh swivel on the upper thigh. He has the double jointed knees, and then he has swivels at the ankles and hinges at the ankles, so he has some up and down movement, but no ankle pivot. And the figure does suffer a bit, especially at the knees areas, from that kind of gummy joint syndrome, the soft joints. So, and it does make it a little hard for him to stand at times. Okay, so for the Captain America figure, again, this is a re-release from the Winter Soldier line. Same head sculpt and everything. The shield he comes with is a really soft rubber. It came out of the packaging very warped, as you can see. So it's kind of a cheap shield that they've given him. Articulation on this figure, he can look left and right. Again, not really much in the way of up or down movement on the neck. He can get his arm out good rotation at the arm. He's got swivel and pretty good bending at the arm, or at the elbow, single hinged elbow. No swivels at the wrist, no midsection articulation on this one. He can do the splits good, and he can get his leg out good. No thigh, or he does have a thigh swivel up at the, high up on the thigh. Single hinged knees, so he can bend his knee about that much. And then there's no ankle articulation, no swivel or anything on this one. And then he also comes with kind of a goofy weapon, this big suction cup bazooka thing, and you push the button and it fires the suction cup missile. So again, kind of a lame accessory. Could definitely do without that. Would have rather had like a better quality shield or something, or like it would have been nice if they'd given us an alternate head with the mask on. That would have been cool. Okay, so now moving into the actual Avengers Age of Ultron figures, we'll first look at the Iron Man Mark 43 figure. The paint apps on it are okay. The red on the figure is, it definitely looks like plastic. It doesn't look like metal. There's not a lot of washwork or anything like that. The gold is a metallic color, and so is the silver, so that looks pretty good. But the red looks, like plastic, unfortunately. They didn't use the same kind of marbleized paint like they used on the Marvel Legends version. And then just white here in the center for his arc reactor instead of the blue highlights like you saw with the Marvel Legends version. And he does have the repulsors on his one open hand, but again, it's just all white. Basically, the hands are sculpted almost identical to the Marvel Legends version, where one hand's kind of sculpted open downwards, and then the other one is closed-fisted. Articulation, he can look left and right. No real up or down movement with the helmet or with the head though. He can't really get his arms out because of the shoulder pads, and the shoulder pads are not articulated on this one, so he's limited there. He does have good rotation. You can rotate the arms for the most part, though they do catch a little bit on the armor, so you want to be careful. He's got a single hinged elbow and a swivel at the elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much. And then the wrists do swivel. There's no hinges on the wrist, but he does have swivel wrists. He does have a midsection joint, so he's got some swivel there at the midsection. No real crunch or anything there. Legs are attached with ball joints, so he can do the splits pretty good. And he can get the legs out. He has double jointed knees, and then he has hinges at the knees, so he's got up or down movement at the feet. Actually, he's got ankle pivots, so that's actually pretty good. He does have ankle pivots on this one. No peg holes on the bottom of his feet, though. Okay, so next we'll look at the Black Widow figure. This is an okay looking figure. The face sculpt is a little iffy. The eyes, the paint on the eyes, she looks got a little cross-eyed syndrome going on. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty good looking figure. She comes with a weird, dumb accessory. I don't really know what this is supposed to be, but it opens up basically, and you can pop this weird-looking blue thing out. I guess it's supposed to be maybe your widow string. You just push the button and it pops out. But again, one of the stupid, lame, oversized accessories. She does, however, come with 2 pistols. Fortunately, she's got gun holsters that hold the pistols, so that's nice. I do like that. Now, I do want to note that it's not the same guns that you see her holding on the packaging. These are all black, and they have, I don't know, some weird sculpting on the top of them. So, and they have like the blue striping that match her outfit, but that's not what we actually get. But she does hold both of the weapons in her hands. Now the guns themselves are kind of a soft rubber, so pushing the guns into her hands can be a little tricky because it's such soft rubber. But you can get her to hold both weapons, and once you get her in her hands, she does hold them pretty good. And on her right hand, she does actually have a trigger finger, so that's good. As I said, the face sculpt on this one is iffy, but otherwise I think the body sculpt on this is pretty good. The gun holster is a separate piece, so it kind of fits loosely on her waist, and then she's got the kind of neon blue colors throughout her costume for that Tron kind of look like she sports in the movie. She's got the widow stings on her wrists. Not a whole lot of detail on the back of the figure. And I think this face sculpt would look alright. It's just something about the eyes I think are off, which make it look a little funny. I mean, it definitely doesn't look like Scarlett Johansson, but the eyes just throw the face sculpt off totally for me. Articulation on the figure is not bad. She can look left and right. Hair doesn't really limit her movement. She doesn't really have any up or down movement though. Arms are attached with ball hinge joints, so she can get her arm out all the way, and she's got good rotation. She's got swivel at the elbow, single hinged elbow, so she can bend her elbow pretty good. She has swivel at the wrists. She does not have a midsection joint at all, and no waist swivel, so that's a little disappointing. Legs are on ball joints, so she can get her leg forward good. Can't really do her leg back very well though, because of her butt. She can do the splits if you turn the legs, so she can do the splits pretty good. She does have thigh swivel. She has double jointed knees, and then she does have ankle pivot, so that's good. And she has 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. Okay, so finally we'll look at the Scarlet Witch figure. Now this is part of that line of figures that Hasbro does with only the 5 points of articulation. So right off the bat, you know the articulation is not very good on this figure. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty solid looking figure. I think the face sculpt is actually pretty decent. Skin tones on the figure a little bit on the pale side, and then down here on her legs a little bit of the black from her skirt has kind of washed onto the skin tone, but otherwise, you know, I think this is a pretty good figure, and I think, you know, especially for this scale of figure, I think they did a pretty good job of capturing the actress's likeness. This is actually not a bad looking figure at all. I really wish it had more articulation. She's got the long hair sculpted. They've given her the basically a little bit, you know, for her magic effects. They've given, these are basically the exact same effects that they gave the Marvel Legends comic book Scarlet Witch. Only they shrunk it down a little bit different color too. This is the one for the 4-inch figure is more of a purple color, and the one with the Marvel Legends is more pink. But same design overall, you know, exact same design. Well, actually I take that back. It is a little bit different. The 4-inch one has this little magic effect that I guess pops out, but they are very similar. Overall, just a little bit smaller for the 4-inch figure. And you know, even though this figure does not have a lot of movement, basically she can turn her head left and right. You can swivel the arm. You can't do the arms out though. No wrist swivel, anything. No elbow joints. No midsection articulation. For the crotch, you know, I haven't seen crotch joints like this in early Star Wars figures, but basically she can get her leg forward, and she can't do her leg back at all, and she can't do the splits at all, and then there's no knee articulation and there's no ankle articulation. She does have 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. But scale wise, you know, she does fit in with the other Avengers figures, so you know, if you want to just, you know, basically just to have the figure stand there, you know, this figure will fit in with you know, the Black Widow and the Iron Man. And for accessories, just like on that Marvel Legends version, they have little clips that you just put around the wrists of the figure. Now, because you can't swivel the hands at all, her hands aren't really in the best magic throwing poses, I would say, so the hands look a little funny because you can't turn the wrists at all, but still for the most part the effects, you know, look pretty good. Okay, and just to give you a size comparison, here's the Toys R Us exclusive Iron Man and Black Widow figure, which have the more articulated and then with 5 points of articulated Scarlet Witch, and then also from that same line the Captain America figure. And so scale wise they fit in pretty good with one another. You know, unfortunately these 2 figures only have 5 points of articulation, so you can't really do very cool poses, but if you just wanted to like stand your figures together, you know, I think these work pretty well with each other. Now there was a third 2-pack for Toys R Us that briefly showed up on one of the Toys R Us's foreign websites. I forget which one it was, and then it got pulled, and it actually contained this, I think it was this Falcon figure, which is from the Captain America the Winter Soldier line, and then Avengers Age of Ultron Hawkeye figure. So I don't know if that figure is going to be released or not, or you know, that 2-pack is going to ever be released or not. I hope it does, because I wouldn't mind getting the Hawkeye, but just wanted to note that there could be a Hawkeye figure coming. It's for Hulk and Thor for now. If you want actual Avengers Age of Ultron versions, you're probably going to have to go with the 5 points of articulated figures until Hasbro gets around, or if Hasbro gets around to releasing more articulated versions. Okay, so that's my review. So for the Scarlet Witch figure, if you can find it on shelves, it's only $10. Yeah, it sucks. It only has 5 points of articulation, but I do think the figure itself looks pretty good. And so, you know, if you're just looking to like have them stand on your shelves, then I think this is it's not a bad figure, especially for the price. Again, articulation, yes, sucks, but the figure itself is decent enough that I think it's worth picking up, assuming you can find it. As for the 2-packs, you know, the Iron Man figure is pretty good, and the Scarlet Witch or the Black Widow figure is okay. The head sculpt's a little weak, but the figure itself is pretty decent. I don't like that Winter Soldier Captain America figure very much at all, so that to me kind of makes the Black Widow 2-pack less appealing. But I would say probably, you know, if you're trying to build up your Avengers Age of Ultron team in this scale, you know, you probably will want to go on and pick it up just so you can get the Black Widow. The Iron Man set, you know, again, the Iron Man figure is pretty good, and if you don't already have that Nick Fury figure, then it's not a bad figure. So, you know, that between the two sets is probably the more appealing set. But the real question is, you know, will we get the other teammates for the Avengers with more articulated, you know, these more articulated versions of Hulk and Thor? Will that Hawkeye ever get released? You know, so if those never get released, if we never see more articulated versions of those, you know, I can't say it's really worth getting just these two characters. So you're kind of taking a gamble, but you know, hopefully Hasbro will release those, and if that's the case, then you probably definitely want to pick these up. So these are all hitting shelves now. The 2-packs, which again are Toys R Us exclusives, you can get online, and they are showing up at their physical stores. The Scarlet Witch is not an exclusive, so basically any place that carries those 5 points of articulated figures, which is pretty much everywhere, you will probably eventually see this figure, maybe. Like I said, it's probably going to be one of the more harder to get figures in that line. It is part of the second series, and I imagine that a lot of people who have been wanting a movie Scarlet Witch figure are going to, regardless of the articulation, are going to want to pick this one up. So that's my review. I hope you like it. We'll have a full gallery of images for all these figures over at marvelousnews.com. There's a link in the description below if you want to check that out. And as always, we ask, you know, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. And until next time, I'll catch you later.